Hello and welcome to the Christ and Culture webcast. I'm your host, Taylor DeSoto. Today, we are going to be jumping right back into our text criticism series. Now, you're probably wondering what you're looking at right here. This is the publicly available CBGM tool. You can get this at the INTF site, the Institute for New Testament Research. This is supposedly the new methodology that's being employed that's going to be producing new Bibles and things like that. So what this tool does is it compares it determines what's called pre-genealogical coherence. What that means in layman's terms is it just compares manuscript readings to each other and determines how related they are, how coherent they are. So if the readings selected within a manuscript are very coherent, they agree percentage-wise, then they're probably related to one another. So if a manuscript is not really related to any other manuscript in the places that they look at, then it's very likely that this manuscript is kind of weird. Codex Beza, for example, disagrees with pretty much everything, but they already knew that. So the exercise that we're going to be doing today is we're going to be using the tool that's on the website, publicly available. If you want to go to it, you can check it out. But we're going to be looking at Sinaiticus, Manuscript 01, and Vaticanus, Manuscript 03. We're going to be looking at the coherence with other manuscripts they've compared already, that they've ran the tool against, and we're also going to see a majority text comparison. From what I'm seeing, the majority text comparisons are not super accurate because of just the small sample size they've selected. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't know how accurate those are yet, just because the data sample size is so small. So we're going to be looking at John today. And as you see, this tool, basically what it does, you plug in your manuscript name, and then you select what book you want to look at, and then you press go. So let's take a look at John and see how the Sinaiticus manuscript, the Sinai manuscript, compares to the rest of them. This might take a second. Okay. So it's showing initially that out of the readings they compared, it agrees 37% with the majority text. That's pretty small. And then with some of these other manuscripts, the highest percentage that it agrees with any manuscript in John is 51.5% of the places they compared. That is abysmal. P75, 45%, P66, 43.7%. Those are the two big papyries that everyone loves. What this basically is telling us is that the Alexandrian text family is not a text family, which is why they've thrown it out. What this tells us is that these formerly known as Alexandrian manuscripts are very weird. They do not agree with a whole lot of other manuscripts. They're very unique. And when you have almost 6,000 manuscripts now, that in a lot of ways agree way more than this, then this is what's called an outlier. This does not represent the thousands upon thousands of manuscripts we have at all. Now, of course, the analysis is far from being done. As you can see, they only compared P75, I think. They don't say exactly how many places they compared them. I wonder if this means they completed P75 and P66. Who knows? But you can see, like here, they compared this manuscript 123 places with Sinaiticus, and they agreed in 58 places. That means that these two manuscripts are not related to one another, really at all. They must share some sort of lineage, but who knows? Because this is dated to early 3rd, 4th century, whatever happened in that 100, 200, 300 years of transmission went really wrong with Sinaiticus. That's what this is telling us, because it doesn't really agree with anything else. So let's go back and let's do the same exercise with Vaticanus. And remember that these are the two manuscripts that are the reason that a lot of your Bible has changed over the last 30 years or so, and even further back than that. But the reason passages like the longer ending of Mark are tossed out are based on the theory that these are really good manuscripts. The reason that the woman caught in adultery, John 7:53 through 8:11, are thrown out is because these are considered earliest and best. So what we're seeing, though, out of the places compared, they really don't agree with the majority of the manuscripts we have. What we're seeing that Vaticanus looks like it relates to P75, 80% of the readings they selected, which is a pretty decent amount of coherence. But then again, it looks like they only compared 139 places. I'd be interested to see when they compare every single place what that looks like. But you have an 80% coherence between P75 and Vaticanus, which means they're probably related somehow. We don't know how they are, but they probably related to one another. Maybe they're cousin manuscripts, something like that. And then obviously you see these numbers tank pretty fast. So let me just show you what it looks like when a manuscript family, or this is what a manuscript family looks like. This is family 35. This is really interesting. So now keep in mind what we just looked at with Sinaiticus and Vaticanus. This is what represents what's called the majority text typically, or in part the Byzantine text family. I mean, come on. That's the kind of coherence you'd expect if, I don't know, God preserved his word. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see what they come up with in Munster. But what this tool has really showed text critics is that the Alexandrian theory was completely wrong. It's shown text critics the value of the Byzantine text platform, and it's really giving them more confidence that the Byzantine, that even one Byzantine manuscript could give an original reading potentially. Very interesting. So now I thought what we would take a look at some of the manuscripts that Erasmus had and see if they're better or more coherent in the places compared than Sinaiticus and Vaticanus. So we're going to take a look first at the minuscule that he had with it's a 15th century, so really late gospel minuscule. It's called minuscule 817. But let's see, it is late, but let's see how it compares to the rest of the manuscripts compared at John. Okay. So this was copied late, but it agrees with the majority text 92.8%. I mean, this is insane. I think I would have a lot more confidence in the manuscript that Erasmus copied from or collated from than I would Sinaiticus or Vaticanus. An interesting thing, Erasmus didn't think Vaticanus was a good manuscript. He thought it was corrupted with Latin readings and things like that. So that's been the theory. That's also, I believe Turretin had a theory similar to that. So this kind of shows us the value of Erasmus's manuscript. So let's take a look at maybe another one that he had. So maybe he had minuscule 2. And let's take a look at it in Matthew. I don't know. We'll just jump around here. Oh, I don't know what this is all about. 100% though with the majority text? That's curious. Let's see what it does in Mark. 94.7%. It's pretty convincing. Seems to me that Erasmus had some better manuscripts. I mean, even if Erasmus only had 6, which he had access to a lot more than that, it seems to me that the manuscripts he had were pretty valuable because they agree with the majority of the manuscripts that we have today. So that's really interesting. In terms of the impact of this, I think that what we're going to see is either text critics really digging down into the Alexandrian theory and comparing places that they know agree to show that the Alexandrian text platform is more valuable than it is. They can do that with this kind of tool. Or maybe, who knows, maybe they're going to start reconsidering what they thought for the last 200 years. We'll see. Only time will tell. But it'll take them who knows how long, decades, to get this thing done. Because as you can see, what's publicly available, at least, they've only really compared, 160 places in some cases. There hasn't really 187 places. There's not a lot of analysis done as of this point, and you can tell that it's only available in the Gospels right now. for this particular tool. They've utilized the CBGM in Acts and the Catholic epistles already. That's resulted in, I believe, 86 changes to the Bible, in the 2016 ESV reflects that. So we'll see. We'll see what it does. But this is what's going on. You can use this. You can, and obviously the publicly available data set's probably a lot more small than the one they're using in Germany. But still, what it's showing is pretty interesting, I think. Well, that's been it. If you were interested in me doing any more of this kind of analysis, let me know. And maybe I can do a series on CBGM, because I think there's a lot of confusion around it. There's really, this is one component of CBGM. This is not CBGM. This is the pre-genealogical component of CBGM. So basically, what the text critics are doing, they'll take something, probably not using this tool, I would imagine. They probably are using something like this tool. But they're using this tool to determine what's earlier and what's best. And it's completely subjective what they decide is earlier and best. They can take the data, right? They can take this, the percentage. They can take all these these data points, and then they get to decide what's the earliest reading. So depending on their presuppositions and what they think the text should have looked like back then, who knows? Who knows what this thing is going to turn out? So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next 15, 20 years. But what the textbook of the introduction textbook to CBGM says, that it will change preaching and commentaries and theology, and so this is not a good thing if you believe in that God has preserved His word, I don't think. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. Anyway, this has been Taylor DeSoto with Christ and Culture, and we will see you next time. May the Lord bless you and keep you.